Every morning before you get out of bed, you do something no other animal on Earth can do. You think about tomorrow, not in a vague, instinctive way, not the way a squirrel buries nuts without consciously understanding winter is coming. You think about tomorrow deliberately, specifically, in detail. You plan what you'll wear, what you'll eat, who you'll see, what you need to do, and in what order. You imagine a version of tomorrow that hasn't happened yet. Compare it to other possible versions, and make decisions in the present designed to influence which version occurs. You navigate time that doesn't exist yet as fluently as you navigate the room you're standing in. You do this before breakfast, without effort, without thinking of it as remarkable. It is one of the most remarkable things any creature has ever done. And for most of the history of life on Earth, nothing did it at all. Animals respond to the present. The most cognitively sophisticated non-human animals, chimpanzees, dolphins, elephants, ravens, show limited evidence of planning that extends beyond minutes or hours. A chimpanzee will select a tool for immediate use. A raven will hide food and retrieve it later. But the evidence for deliberate, flexible, long-range future thinking, for imagining multiple possible futures, evaluating them, and choosing actions in the present designed to produce a specific one, remains, as far as we can determine, uniquely human. Somewhere in our evolutionary history, something changed. A cognitive threshold was crossed, and on the other side of that threshold was everything we recognize as civilization. Agriculture, architecture, writing, science, law, philosophy, every long-term project humans have ever undertaken. All of it required the ability to act in the present for the benefit of a future that exists at the moment of action, only in the mind. Nobody knows exactly when this happened. It left no direct fossil record, but the archaeological evidence points toward a period roughly 300,000 to 100,000 years ago. And the clues are in the tools. For most of the lower Paleolithic, human tool technology was remarkably static. The Acheulean hand axe, a teardrop-shaped stone tool, appeared roughly 1.7 million years ago and remained essentially unchanged for over 1 million years. 1 million years of the same tool, not because the humans making it were unintelligent, but because intelligence, in the form it existed then, was oriented almost entirely toward the present. You made the tool you needed now. You solved the problem in front of you. The idea of making something for a future use that didn't yet exist, of investing present effort in a future benefit, required a cognitive architecture that hadn't fully developed yet. Then, starting around 300,000 years ago and accelerating sharply around 100,000 years ago, the archaeological record changes. Tools become more varied, more specialized, more carefully constructed than the immediate task seems to require. Raw materials appear at sites far from their geological sources, carried sometimes hundreds of kilometers, not because they were needed immediately, but because someone anticipated needing them later. In South Africa, researchers have found evidence of what appears to be systematic ochre processing, the preparation of pigment not for immediate use, but apparently for storage, for future application. Someone processed something they didn't need yet, stored it, and planned to use it later. That sequence, anticipate, prepare, store, retrieve, is the basic cognitive grammar of future thinking, and it appears in the archaeological record as a sudden, striking departure from everything that came before. Here is what makes this genuinely strange. The capacity for future thinking didn't just change what humans could do. It changed what humans were. Once you can imagine the future, you become responsible for it in a way that no other animal ever has to be. A lion that kills a zebra is not responsible for the zebra population next year. A chimpanzee that eats every piece of fruit it finds is not failing to plan ahead. It simply cannot plan ahead in any meaningful sense. But a human who can imagine next winter, who can picture the starving months before they arrive and take action now to prevent them. That human has stepped into a different kind of relationship with time and consequence, one that carries the weight of foresight, one that requires, for the first time in evolutionary history, a creature to live not just in the present, but across time, to hold the past, the present, and the future simultaneously in mind and navigate all three at once. This is cognitively extraordinary. evolutionary. It is also, researchers increasingly argue, the source of something uniquely human that is harder to explain: existential anxiety. The ability to imagine the future includes the ability to imagine bad futures, to anticipate loss before it occurs, to experience grief for things that haven't happened yet, to lie awake at night worrying about possibilities that may never materialize. No other animal, as far as we can determine, experiences anxiety about the future in the way humans do, because no other animal has a future to be anxious about, not in the rich, detailed, imagined sense that humans do. The same cognitive leap that gave us agriculture and architecture and medicine also gave us dread. They are the same capacity. You cannot have one without the other. Your ancestors understood this trade even if they couldn't articulate it. The earliest evidence of future planning in the archaeological record appears alongside the earliest evidence of ritual, of art, of deliberate burial. The behaviors that researchers associate with symbolic thinking, with the human capacity to hold meaning that transcends the immediate moment. This clustering is not coincidental. Future thinking and symbolic thinking are deeply connected. To imagine a future is to hold something real in mind that is not yet present, to treat a possibility as meaningful before it exists. That is the same cognitive move that makes a symbol work. The same brain that could plan for winter could also imagine a world beyond death, could understand that a red handprint on a cave wall meant something, could grasp that a promise made today created an obligation that would still exist tomorrow. Every human institution is built on that last insight. Promises, contracts, laws, marriages, governments, currencies, every one of these is a structure that only functions if the people involved believe that the future is real, that what happens tomorrow matters, that obligations made today extend forward through time, that actions in the present have consequences beyond the present moment. The entire architecture of human civilization is, at its deepest level, a structure built on future thinking, on the cognitive capacity that emerged in a small population of humans somewhere in Africa, sometime in the last 300,000 years, when a brain crossed a threshold and time opened up in a direction it had never opened before. You live inside the consequence of that moment every day. Every plan you make, every promise you keep, every worry you carry about something that hasn't happened yet, all of it is running on cognitive hardware that was revolutionary when it first appeared, that no other creature on Earth possesses in anything like the same form, and that is so deeply integrated into how you experience being alive that you cannot imagine existing without it. You cannot imagine not being able to imagine tomorrow. But for most of the history of life on Earth, nothing could. The future simply didn't exist for any mind capable of contemplating it until something in the human brain changed, and suddenly, there it was. Infinite, terrifying, full of possibility, heavy with responsibility, demanding to be planned for and worried about and hoped in. The day humans invented the future was the day everything changed. Not because the world changed. The world was the same world it had always been, but something that had never existed before came into being inside a human mind. The ability to reach forward through time, to touch something that hadn't happened yet, and to let that touch change what you did right now. To live not just in the moment, but ahead of it. To be, for the first time in the history of life, a creature with a tomorrow. We have been living in that tomorrow ever since, building toward futures we won't live to see, worrying about possibilities that may never arrive, planting trees whose shade we'll never sit in, making promises that extend beyond our own lifetimes, doing things today for the benefit of people who don't exist yet, in a time we'll never reach. That is what humans do. That is what nothing else does. And it all started with a mind, somewhere in deep prehistory, crossing a threshold that had never been crossed before, and discovering on the other side that the future was real, and that it was waiting, and that it needed tending.